very warm welcome to everyone here who has joined for this evening's discussion on Talking Films Online. Talking Films Online, or TFO in short, is an informal coming together of academics, teachers, researchers, filmmakers, and cinephiles interested in cinema, more importantly, interested in talking and writing about cinema. The online group came together quite spontaneously during the pandemic and lockdown in June 2020. While Dr. Geeta Vishwanath and I have been coordinating the activities of TFO since its inception, we have had people like Sanjay Kumar, Sridhar Moduku, K. Phaniraj, Ajanta Sarkar, MS Murli Krishna, Tarakeshwar VB, Yagnashri, Rasha, Madhurima, and many others who join the weekly discussions and enhance the quality of the discussion. So far, we have organized 209 online events. In fact, this is the 210th one. And this includes weekly discussions on a pre-decided film, besides a few month-long film festivals and discussions. For instance, this year, we had a Farmers Film Festival, and in March, we had a series of discussions on Kumar Shani's films as a way of paying tribute to him. Last month, that is in September, we had a Kannada movie month where filmmakers like Prithvi Konanur and screenplay writers like Ananta Chandreya joined the discussion. Sometimes personnel from film industry, such as directors, cinematographers, actors, join our weekly discussions. Filmmakers often make their films available exclusively for TFO members to watch by generously sharing links to their films. And they have also joined in the discussion. Directors like Jayan Cherian, Girish Kasarvalli, Adur Gopal Krishnan, Aparna Sen, Anjali Montero, KP Jayashankar, etc. During June this year, to mark the 4th anniversary of TFO, we had the 4th smartphone short film competition for students between 18 and 25 years of age. And we had a grand award ceremony where the winners of the competition were announced. Recently, that is in September, films online ceremony when the winners of the competition were announced. Just a moment. Recently, on September 30th and October 1st, we had the first TFO International Seminar on Indian Cinema in the Digital Era, Continuities and Discontinuities, in collaboration with FCT Baroda. Our aim is to get a conversation going around cinema and to get as many people involved in the process as possible. With all our events being online, anyone and everyone interested in cinema is welcome to our forum. We have a blog called talkingfilmsonline.wordpress.com where we encourage all kinds of writings on cinema. We have a YouTube channel called Talking Films Online where you can watch some of our discussions. We are also on Facebook. TFO is a private group on Facebook, and we regularly share weekly discussion information on WhatsApp as well. Today we will discuss the Bengali film CHITRANGADA. The film was suggested by Sagnik Mridul. Sagnik Mridul is currently pursuing MA English language teaching at EFL University, Hyderabad, where he also completed his bachelor's in English. A passionate cinephile, he has written and presented papers on courtesan films with a focus on the cinematic portrayals of characters like Chandramukhi in Devdas. Over to you, Sagnik. A very warm welcome to you and to all who have joined the discussion today. Yeah, you can now take over.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And thank you, TFO, for providing me this opportunity. And I am very excited to talk about this movie because it is very close to my heart. And before we go into discussing the movie, I got to know from Nikhila ma'am that this is the first time that Rituparna Ghosh's movie is being taken up for discussion on TFO. So I would first like to discuss a little bit about the director. So Rituparna Ghosh was an Indian film actor, director, writer, lyricist, and he is renowned for his movies, which made a significant impact on Indian cinema, particularly Bengali cinema, in the 90s and 2000s. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2013. This was his last movie that was released before his death. And this is also the first movie that he acted as the main lead in. He also has acted in another movie previously, Memories in March, which is also a beautiful movie dealing with similar concepts. Um, Rituparno Ghosh was known for his sensitive and nuanced portrayals of human relationships and focusing on the complexities of family dynamics, gender, and sexuality. Uh, his films often centered on the Bengali middle class, the Bhadralok, and their daily, everyday lives. He was known for creating films that focused on intimate and personal stories that often set uh, they were often set within the confines of domestic household spaces. This style allowed him to explore the nuances of human relationships and emotions in depth, and he mostly restrained himself to the setting of the bourgeois living room. This approach enabled him to create a tightly controlled domestic ecosystem in which, he could uh, create these tensions and mount these passions, which can, like, create the melodrama to be fully realized and make it relatable to his target audience. His writing style was uh, characterized by its subtlety and very much about its expressiveness. He had a talent for conveying complex emotions and ideas through minimal dialogue, relying on characters' body language and subtle cues in the imagery and camera direction. His characters often speak for themselves without having to say a word, using their body language, which we see a lot in particularly in this movie. Um, his movies uh, delve deep into the complexities of human relationships, which he says that his movies have a sensitive understanding of the touching tangles that relate with relationships. This allowed him to create stories that resonated deeply with the audience, and always explored these unspoken tensions and emotions that exist within families and within these intimate, close relationships. Many of Ghosh's films also centered on the experiences and perspectives of women. He was particularly interested in exploring the challenge of women in Indian society, as well as, mm, for example, his movies like Unish April and Dahan and Chokher Bali. Um, these have very strong female characters, and his work consistently questions and challenges the traditional gender roles and heteronormative societal expectations. His work projects the changing perceptions of the gender identity that by dominant sensitized middle class. So this gender identity that is portrayed by the
कई
dominant
बार सर
middle
भी जॉब
class.
करते हैं ये हमारी आदत है हाँ प्यासा पे की हुई थी सर ने
Hello. Huh. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, please go ahead. Yeah.
Huh. So these perceptions are usually broken and deconstructed by him by using narratives of sexual desires. So this helps demystify the existing philosophy of heteronormativity and patriarchy. And this approach is particularly evident in his later works, which includes Chitrangada, which directly addresses LGBTQ themes as well. He often incorporated elements of Bengali culture, literature, and traditions into his films, and he was particularly influenced by the works of Rabindranath Tagore, adapting several of Tagore's stories to films. Much of his movies are inspired from Tagore's novels, for example, Chokher Bali and Chitrangada, of course. These aspects of uh, uh, Rituparno Ghosh's directorial style and the thematic focus that he had contributes to his voice that he had in cinema. He explored these complex social issues through very intimate stories, which um, resonated with the audience and left an impact on them. Uh, they left an impact because they were challenging the social norms. This is because they dealt with very important subject matters and themes, uh, s- like gender identity and fluidity. He challenged traditional notions of gender roles and expression, and the gender fluidity that is portrayed by his characters, it kind of comes across as radical in this country where gender identity remains a misguided, hypocritical concept. And uh, this particular film, it's as he explains it, it's about the acceptance of a person's identity. The film explores the journey of a character considering gender reassignment surgery, and so it deals very directly with these issues. Ghosh films always delved into complex portrayals of sexuality and desire, and for example, his movie Arekti Premer Golpo, it is about a Delhi-based transgender and clearly portrays his like the filmmaker's liking towards his partner, who is a choreographer, and it's kind of inspired from real events. So this thing he usually tries to bring about in his movies, especially Chitrangada, which the subtitle or like as in the tagline of Unfulfilling Wish. So it is a story of a wish, of an unfulfilled desire. So he works with these kind of concepts a lot. His films often served as a commentary on the evolving social dynamics of the urban middle class, mostly Bengali society. He captured the tensions between tradition and modernity, the conflicts between changing values and the aspirations of the new generation. And he managed to start a new dialogue with the urban middle class, a segment that was itself consistently on the increase throughout the first decade of liberalization. So he, with his movies, started an era of these kind of movies. 2012 was a time when the 377 law was still there, and we could not have imagined having a movie like this in mainstream media. And he knew that he was transgressing from the field, and he knew that he would get some criticism, some backlash due to his choice of themes and his choice of um, concepts that he wants to explore through his movies. But he took that step, from which we can see many of his movies centered on women's experiences and presented feminist perspectives. He portrayed like very strong, complex female characters, like one in Antor Mohol, which is about the sexual abuse of women in like in the Zamindar ji house during British Raj. The film exposes the physical and mental torture that the women have to had to experience in the patriarchal society through the receptive representation by the chief female characters in this film. The main lead of this particular movie, like she is shown to have undergone so much torture and so much violence that movie actually brings about. That is why Antur Mahal, the name of the movie itself means the what happens inside the house. It's the kind of like the living room or the backyard of the house, the things that we hide from the society, from the outside world. So his notable works include 19 April, Dohon, Badiwali, Utshab, Chokher Bali, Antor Mohol, The Last Clear, which is an English language movie with Amitabh Bachchan, and Chitrangada. Ghosh, he became increasingly important in Indian queer cinema and culture uh, due to his later works. This is because he openly addressed his own gender nonconformity and sexuality in public, and his this personal openness it significantly influenced his work and his public persona, making him an important figure in the Indian LGBTQ representation. So, his films, as I mentioned, directly dealt with LGBTQ themes, and he challenged heteronormative assumptions with both his work and his public persona as well. So, his openness, his explicit engagement, his consistent challenging the heteronormative assumptions, all of these influenced the cultural context of Bengali cinema, and in turn the mainstream Indian pop culture. And this movie helped bring about a lot of changes, at least in the mindset of the uh, audience that he targeted this for. We will talk about the drawbacks as well of his kind of portrayal of the choice of choosing a middle class bourgeois kind of living room of a Bengali household to show his story. But right now, let's talk about Chitrangada. So, this movie is, as I mentioned, his last work before he passed away. And this movie is based on Rabindranath Thakur's play Chitra, which is an adaptation of the story of Chitrangada from Mahabharata of Vedvyas. And this character is taken by Tagore, and it's changed in a very significant way. Many folk tales are added to it, and he makes it as a dance drama. And there are songs included in it. It's a musical, and it's portrayed very beautifully. And this is one of the things of Rituparno, that he takes up Tagore's works and he puts his own soul into it and gives it a new direction. So when Rituparno took up this Chitrangada, the story of Tagore, he imagined this character Rudro. Rudro is a choreographer. This the main protagonist of this movie. He is putting up a show of this dance drama for, like, as part of his work with his drama troupe or his drama group. So he is deeply connected with the story of Chitrangada. The film interweaves these two stories, the personal journey of the protagonist, as well as the actual story of Chitrangada as the dance drama shows. So you can see the scenes of hospital and the scenes of the stage juxtaposing each other. So this parallel narrative structure he uses to delve into this complexity of gender fluidity. Um, so Rudra Chatterjee is a complex character. His journey mirrors the director's own struggles. Rituparno's decision to play the lead role himself adds an extra layer of authenticity to the narrative. We can feel the emotion. The audience actually connected with it more because the director himself, the one who wrote the story, was actually playing it out. We could connect with it. Rudra's internal conflict, which is symbolized by this character Shubho, his counselor, his counselor, or his subconscious voice. Uh, he guides him through the labyrinth of his emotional and of his psychological battles that he faces during the time that he is in the hospital for his surgery. The story, the movie itself introduces us to the story of Chitrangada, and the introduction of the play Chitrangada, as in Rudra's words, begins with these few lines. I would like to just read out this. Mm, it had to be an heir. That's all the father knew. To carry on the name and the family pride. And so the training began. But the child, to be a girl or a boy, did anyone ask or even want to know? Children have dreams beyond their parents' expectations, and they wish on stars and fallen eyelashes. Sometimes wishes come true unexpectedly. to crown our life and turn the everyday inside out. This, as Shubho realizes that he asks him if this is the introduction, and he also asks him, wouldn't this reveal too much? And isn't it becoming a bit autobiographical? So, this conflict, the major conflict that arises in a character that Rudro is playing. So, a person who um, does not feel conformed to the sex that they were assigned at birth, transgender, they reside in the realm of desire and of wishes. Uh, these wishes, their fulfillment and as well as unfulfillment. So these desires, they are grown and nourished from childhood. These are grown from childhood. These are, and eventually some of these wishes stay with us throughout our life and end up turning our lives into a certain direction. So the fulfillment of these desires can be advantageous or hazardous, but nonetheless, the uncertainty of it is the conflict. And in Rudro's case, he has never been able to assert his effeminacy openly in the society when he was young. When he was a child at school, later on in his life, he was always faced with insults. He's talked behind his back. He talks about this with his counselor. So he wished for acceptance, both from his own parents and this. He also talks to his parents very deeply about this when he mentions about how he's a perennial embarrassment and like just a weird creature that landed at their door. So this there is this tension between the societal expectations and the personal desires. Very rightfully, Rituparna himself mentions that Chitrangada Akta Ichher Golpo. It's a story of a wish, of a desire, of a craving, of something that you want to be. This uh, desire in the movie is shown by a gender reassignment surgery. This Rudro decides to go to appease his lover as well as for his need for self acceptance. So, this desire to change brings uh, mental conflict and a lot of confusion and turmoil in his mind, and especially due to the fact that his lover Partho, he withdraws from the relationship and rejects by calling him a technical woman and saying that he prefers a real woman. This struggle, we see this when we discuss Judith Butler's theory of gender performativity. Here, Judith Butler argues that gender is not an inherent identity, but rather a series of acts which are influenced by societal norms. So, his transformation can be seen as an attempt to align his outward appearance with his inner identity. But his failure to find the peace is is the point that Butler is trying to make by saying that there is no true gender. There are only performative acts which are constrained by cultural frameworks. This binary that is created by the male and female, and then there is a third gender that is going outside this binary. So, Judith Butler's concept is that gender as a social construct itself is formed by these series of acts, by things which are conditioned into you from childhood, which you act upon by instinct, uh, by training almost, as Rudro mentions. So, Chitrangada is a story of desire that you can choose your gender. Chitrangada, uh, like it's it a transgender who has to choose their gender based on the various factors that surround them. In fact, all of these factors also like end up like all of the options that are open to the person anyway end up leading to complex conflicting situations, contradictions, and feeling a craving for validity. And these factors, like there can be many factors which influence this: culture, ideology, parents, society, and relatives, close-knit families, joint families, as India's um, culture is. There we see that the ideologies of the parents clash with the younger generation. And these external forces that work upon this individual makes the individual wish for one thing, the very identity and the acceptance from the society. And Rudro's eventual realization at the end of this movie um, is that both his physical transformation and this relationship with his lover, they both cannot grant him the fulfillment that he desires, that he needs. And that is the path of self realization that Rudro goes through. And this leads him to reverse his surgery and embrace a different kind of self acceptance. He comes to terms with his identity. He recognizes that neither societal validation nor external changes can resolve any conflict that resides within you. And this film, like since it's a modern interpretation of Chitrangada, Tagore's Chitra, it um, constructs a myth that centers on identity and gender transformation. So the protagonist, who is raised as a warrior prince, they have this masculine upbringing, but they have
Sorry, Sagnik, you can just unmute yourself. I think I muted you by
yes, ma'am.
mistake. Yeah.
Do I continue?
Yes, please.
Yes. So Tagore's Chitrangada, it was originally a myth that centered on gender identity and gender transformation. Here, the protagonist, who was raised as a man, as a warrior prince, they have feminine desires after they see Arjun. And this entire story is placed onto Rudro's journey. We see this after all of this has taken place already. So we can see that both the characters of Rudra and Chitrangada are trying to go against the set pattern of nature and society, but they fail. In uh, Tagore's Chitrangada, it's Arjun who is the catalyst who enables or forces Chitrangada to rethink about her hidden desire of being a woman. And for Rudra, it is Partho. Partho makes Rudra think about or wish for having children. And that is why Rudra decides to take this step. So Ghosh has effortlessly presented this suffering of the self within an unwanted body. This play within a play structure of this movie, where Rudra's decision to undergo the surgery is juxtaposed with him playing the character of Modon, the god of love, who gives the boon to transform Chitrangada. He himself is playing the role of that character on stage. This juxtaposed to him going through the transformation himself. The entire movie is about transformation. So Rudra's realization that his identity and self-worth are not contingent upon his physical transformation, this echoes the ongoing conversation in trans and queer politics about body autonomy and societal expectations, and how um, Judith Butler specifically talks about this when she mentions the conflict of having to uh, portray yourself as something that you are not. And this is forced upon a trans and a queer person through the different norms, and from not even the norms, just by existing in the society. to be a part of the society means to have some of these ingrained behavioral values and norms that you have to follow, codes that are linked to your identity, and and your codes that are linked to your parents' identity and your parents' position in the society as well. So this is dealt in a very interesting way in this movie by juxtaposing the hospital and the stage. So the hospital scenes represent the physical and the psychological trauma that Rudra goes through to conform to societal expectation. This alienation that Rudra feels, the loneliness of the hospital room, where no one comes to visit him, he keeps waiting. He eventually ends up hallucinating a counselor who is meeting him every day. So, this versus the stage where Rudro is the director, where he is God, where he is actually bringing about the transformation. And this is being represented through classical dance, through the expressive style of Odissi. And dance, with its emphasis on bodily gesture, it becomes a metaphor for the fluidity of gender and identity. So, this duality of the hospital and the stage, this serves as a kind of societal fixation on the body as a kind of problem to be fixed. The stage represents the liberating aspect of art and of self-expression. The hospital restricts you within its four uh, mm, walls, but the stage liberates you with its opening up the fourth wall, with you expressing how you truly feel. So Rudro's father, we see, disapproves of his dancing, of his profession, and he perceives it not matching with his masculinity, with his ideals of masculinity. So this mirrors the social rejection that trans identities and non-binary identities face in today, even especially in today's world. And Rituparno is talking about this in 2012. So this Rudro's journey towards this self-actualization is understanding this concept that gender is not an innate quality. So this thing that gender is defined by birth and that gender is something that is permanent is created by the heteronormative and the patriarchal discourse. And this thing Judith Butler counters in her seminal works, where she challenges the traditional notions of gender being fixed or being binary. Butler argues that gender is constructed through repeated performances, and these performances are to respect societal expectations, which create this illusion of having an identity. This understanding of gender allows for the recognition of trans identities and queer desires as legitimate expressions of self, challenging the rigid confines of heteronormativity. And Rudro's journey is emblematic of this idea of gender as a performance. His decision to undergo the surgery, it serves as like a moment where the uh, movie takes the new turn, and this reflects the tension between the societal acceptance and the personal fulfillment of desires. The change of gender means to bring about a change in what nature has bestowed. To tamper with nature will bear like will never bear fruitful results. This option, the only option for a transgender person is left is to change their sex, to change their body in order to get that validation from the society. Here, Partho wants Rudro to admit that if he's happy with his if he's uh, unhappy with his natural self, if he just wants to become a woman. And Rudra mentions how most of us are unhappy with what nature gives us, or otherwise guys would not want six packs or would not go to gym to become a man, and girls would not have to wax their arms and legs to become a woman. This argument does not influence Partha at all. So he says that if I have to have a child, then I would have my own child with my own blood. Why would I have it with with a technical woman, with a half thing? So Rudra is left as just a half. This stage where he is in the middle of this transformation, in the middle of his transition, uh, he has gotten his top surgery and he is waiting. He's recovering and he is half male and half female. The operations are not yet complete. This affects to a conflict that arrives in his mind, where is he a natural man or is he a technical woman? This conflict Partho helps us establish. And this conflict just results in disillusionment and disenchantment, which is why Rituparno illustrates this emotional landscape that Rudra goes through throughout this movie. The movie begins when he is already in the hospital, when he is already transitioning, and the entire story is going through a flashback, as well as flashback of directing the play. The path is not linear at all. It keeps overlapping, and we see different events happening at different times. Um, these interactions of each of the characters with others, including his with his lover, these expose the societal pressures that surround the non-normative identities, the non-conforming identities. Rudra's longing for acceptance and love is deeply intertwined with his understanding of self, and leading to these moments of profound vulnerability where he talks about these things deeply with the counselor or with himself in his journey of self realization. So, this movie in itself explores an intersection of class, of privilege, of gender identity, because Rudra's privileged background grants him certain advantages. He can afford gender reassignment surgery. This privilege is not a reality for many trans individuals in India, where access to healthcare, particularly specialized procedures like gender affirming surgeries, these are limited by financial constraints, lack of support from family, and yeah, lack of care. And Rituparna's portrayal of Rudra's privilege, it underscores these systemic inequalities which trans individuals face, who are especially being from marginalized socioeconomic background. So this is about a very deep-rooted intersectionality that Rituparna fails to capture, and he mostly describes this journey of Rudra, which, despite his privilege, has its own challenges. His desire to adopt a child, it's uh, hindered by legal restrictions, and uh, his experience underscores the barriers that are faced by these privilege, that it has its mm, limits, and this privilege, it's essential to acknowledge that Rudra's experience is not representative of the experience of all trans individuals in India, and his privilege allows him to navigate his journey in ways which may not be possible for many others. But his story offers valuable insight into the complexities of gender identity and the nuances of the conflicts that arise into the brain of a non-conforming person. And this particular situation was not depicted into movies as with much prominence and with this much relatability either. And one of the most um, influential aspects of this movie is the rejection at the end to undergo the reassignment surgery. Here, he uh, withdraws uh, from the commitment that he had made to go through the surgery because he feels that he still wants to be who he was. The In his words, he all all this surgery was a technical necessity. He goes and tells the doctor that all I need from you is a certificate that I'm a woman. No other changes. I'm not going to wear a sari. I am just, it's like a cosmetic surgery. So this thing for him, he realizes that this tampering of his real self to get himself transformed into a woman just because of societal norms, societal expectations which are being forced upon him, and not just by the society, by his own partner, which all of which he only realizes after he is completely left alone, and in the end he has been accepted by the only person which are his own parents. And this is quite opposite to the mainstream movies where the happy ending is usually the main couple ending up together. Here, Partho leaves, he marries another person where he faces another conflict where his wife does not want to keep the child and wants to go for an abortion while he desperately wants to have children, have his own blood. And this conflict also shows that he does not end up well, but all the characters are isolated. They have their own individual struggles. And this complex movie, this complex story, this complex journey, it's a critique on the compulsory heterosexuality, on the compulsory heteronormativity that individuals must be heterosexual in order to be considered normal, in order to be considered complete. This movie is at at its end a call for acceptance and understanding. It rejects the societal pressures to conform to heteronormative expectations, and Ritupano challenges his viewers to reconsider their own assumptions about gender and about sexuality. Through his own journey, Rudro offers a thought-provoking exploration of gender identity and social expectations and the importance of embracing one's true self. The last time that he calls his Partho, his lover, while he's on the operation bed and he's going to have his breast implants removed, he asks him, he just, Partho just tells him tells the doctor on the call that be what you wish to be. It's your wish. And this is where the movie ends. And there, the movie ends with a song which very beautifully captures a new beginning. It talks of a new life, at Notun Jibon. And this movie, it comes about a full circle. We see acceptance, we see the withdrawal of people, we see the coming close of family members, we see them reuniting, and we see the non-conforming to heteronormativity. The heteronormative society wants you as a transgender to undergo a surgery to establish your identity either as a male or a female. But transness, according to what Judith Butler talks, is about asserting one's identity away from this binary. Uh, Gender itself as a performance, as something that people have to act, as something that people have to consciously put an effort to do. And I feel like this movie makes a statement which uh, resounds a lot even in today's world after so many issues that we see with trans rights and even with feminism, and there are people who go for trans exclusionary radical feminism, and there are a lot of these factors which play against and force the society to go against um, transgender individuals. And this movie talks about how we should just let them what they wish to be. That is the underlying statement. I think I've spoken a lot, and it has been very academic all this while. I'm sorry, I went into a lot of directions. I hope it was a good starting point at least.
Yes, indeed, very good starting point. I think it's opened up many lines of discussion, threads of discussion. This is a forum for academic as well as all kinds of discussions. People are welcome to participate at whatever level they want to make their entry into the discussion. Sagnik, we really enjoyed listening to you. Thank you so much for bringing up some of the key issues. Anyone who wants to respond to the film or to respond to what Sagnik has presented so far, you're most welcome to come in. Please unmute yourselves so I know that you want to speak. Rajan, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I hope I'm loud enough.
Yes, yes.
Well, I had a lot of things to think about the movie because at one level it's surreal, right? And it's dealing with the the play, right? And the memories of it, right? And it's also in many ways getting myth in, like the train going through the tunnel and the mist, right? So there's a lot of mist around, right? And I also think in many ways the plot is very much like Tendulkar's uh, play Mitrachi Ghost, right? Where Nama goes back to being a heterosexual after having a kind of lesbian fling, right? Yeah, so that's somewhat similar, and that's again a question. And of course, the drug addiction was not touched upon, right? You get the lead character in love with this man who's a drug addict and probably homosexual at one point of time, and then at another point of time, and that's not clear, right? Because how does one cope with drug addiction? How does one cope when one is in love with a person who's a drug addict, right? Yeah, so that's again another aspect of the film which is not gender based or is gender based. Okay, it's in between, right? And I think that I should stop there, right? Yeah, so you can comment about it.
Okay, thanks, Rajan. Sagnik, maybe you can come in at any point if you have anything to say. I'll just open it out to others. If you want to speak, just let me know. Anyone else who wants to come in now? Yes, Geeta, please go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sagnik. I think it was an extremely interesting way in which you opened out the several layers of the film. And what for me was really very beautifully conveyed through the film's narrative, apart from, of course, its moments. You know, there are some very tender, poignant, beautiful moments in the film which stay with you for long after watching it. That is, of course, one of its, really beautiful aspects. And what is interesting is this realization that comes in the end about, to be what one really desires to be, comes through a quintessential heterosexual desire for an heir. and that is there right from the pedigree of this narrative, starting from Mahabharat to Tagore's Chitra to this film. So it kind of plays with this um heteronormative, valorizing of an heir, only to, debunk the whole thing at the end of the narrative. So that I thought was very interestingly done.
Yeah, thanks, Geeta. Yeah, I too was kind of thinking of all that you were saying, Sagnik, in some ways. The struggle here seems to me embodied in the way in which some kind of congruence, some kind of parity is attempted to be achieved between sex, gender, and sexuality. And what is very interesting in the film is that this is an ongoing struggle. And the realization that, however much one may think of, for instance, sex and gender kind of coming together perfectly. By sex, I mean the physical body, and by gender, I mean the social construction of the sexed body. So the desire seems to be to make congruous the sexed body with the gender identity, spurred by a certain, maybe there is again a kind of heterosexual normative desire at play when one wants to become the desirable woman, perfect woman, whatever that may be in the eyes of Partho, and then only to realize, Rudro realizes that this congruence itself is mythical, that it is only a struggle. So one sees this in so many films, like in Kissa, in the Punjabi film Kissa, even in a popular Telugu film like Rani Rudramma Devi, or the Marathi film Jogwa, the Kannada film Nanu Avanalla Avalu, where the struggle at one level is between the sexed body and the gender identity. So one starts to think of oneself as a woman, or vice versa. So what do you do with a body which it seems incongruent to what you are feeling? So the immediate need seems to be to somehow bring parity between the sex body and the sense of gender identity, or whatever one identifies one's gender to be, or in the framework that you were adopting, the performative aspect. So you perform as a woman, so you want to also take that performance to mark it on your body, as it were. And so that's what Rudro attempts to make, which is spurred on by a homosexual relationship, which probably at some level also wants to become a normative heterosexual, sexual relationships. So this struggle between these tripartite, these three terms, the sex, gender, and sexuality, as an ongoing struggle, futile at some points, which is what probably Rudro realizes towards the end. I thought that's coming across very well in this film. Also, the other aspect, as you pointed out, is, and I was just looking at some of the comments on the YouTube video. Everyone seems to have remarked about how wonderfully Rudro has been played by Rituparno Ghosh. So at some level, it is. I mean, it's often described by the spectators as a masterful performance and so on. So I think all these aspects are invaluable as far as this film is concerned. Thanks, Sagnik, for asking us to watch this film and for initiating a discussion on such a wonderful film. I open it out to others. Anyone else who wants to come in, who wants to respond, you're most welcome. Murli Krishna, please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, all. Sagnik has presented very nicely. Now, Chitrangada, as he told, it is the last venture of the Helmer, Rituparna Ghosh. And it has the stamp of sensitivity, dexterity, and incidentally notable craft work. And the gender orientation of the protagonist, that is Rudra, is handled very sensitively. I think, in a way, it's a marginalized character. The character of Rudra is a marginalized character, and it made me to think about our society's prevailing taboos regarding LGBTQ community at large. And I was also reminded about the issue of same-sex marriage that hit the headlines somewhere last year, I think, where the Supreme Court put the ball in the court of the government, fully knowing the stance of the government regarding such matters, and also the stances of the religious leaders. So it's unfortunate that Supreme Court could not come open with its judicial pronouncement, leaving the ball in the court of the government. And it has been beautifully portrayed in the film about the inner turmoil and also the tumultuous relationships and also the creative outputs of the protagonist and also his journey of self-discovery. There are melodramatic moments in the film, but I think they do not go overboard. In fact, Rabindranath Tagore was much ahead of his time, and so also Rituparno Ghosh. And I feel that it is indeed a difficult task, or rather, I should say, a tough task to write a screenplay for this sort of a film, but it has come out well. Incidentally, the film also reminded me about some of the films directed by Pedro Almodovar, who also touches upon these marginalized sections of society through his some of these characters. Alas, Ritupurno died at a relatively young age. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Murli Krishna. Anyone else who wants to come in?
May I say something?
Rajan, please go ahead. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I'm sorry, I'm coming in again. But I think, Nikhila, when you spoke about the body, that was a very important thing. And in the whole movie, you see how the body matters with the physical gestures of Rudra, right? And that's about dancing. And is it a male body or a female body? And that's a question that keeps coming up, right? Because the fingers and the hand movements and the leg movements and all those kind of things, right, is actually just one part of it, and it could be belong to a male or a female, and because of doing something artificial like dance, right? Yeah, so that's again a question that the film raises, and also the movie is about the mind and a troubled mind shifting between two concepts of male and female, right? Thank you. That's-
Professor Nicola, one more point, can I make it?
Sure, please go ahead.
So, and also we see the transformation of Rudra. But there is also another transformation in the film, that of his parents, basically Rudra's father. That's also a transformation to be reckoned with. And also, I liked the dining table scenes. There are three scenes where dining table plays a very important and beautiful role in the film, captured brilliantly by Rituparno. Thank you.
Can I add something?
Yes, please go ahead.
Actually, I was going to mention what Murli Krishna sir just mentioned. The dining table conversations that took place within the family, they brought a very beautiful picture and very intimate personal picture of a family and the conversations that happen within a family and which are usually not portrayed, not a part of the happy family of a happy movie of the mainstream cinema. So one of the conversations that they have while Rudra is undergoing surgery is when Rudra's mother confesses that it is easy to blame him and but we are also to be blamed. And we knew it all along, but we didn't accept it. And because he is born as a boy, we raised him like a boy. And Rudra's father just says, Ki, what is there to insist? Boys should be boys. That's natural. And his mother replies, their nature is what is natural to them. Shobhabtai shabhabik. So, nature has its own desires. If we had accepted what's natural to them, then he wouldn't have to survive by getting surgeries and by getting all of these cuts. At this, his father can't respond. He responds by talking about the image of his son that he gets, where he almost resembles his wife. He says that I could see you on the operation theater when you had come out of the labor room right after delivering Rudro. So that is those beautiful moments are captured by Rituparno in this story, which makes this story so personal, so emotional.
Yeah. Anyone else? Any other points? Please unmute yourself so I know that you want to speak.
Yeah, I would
Raj,
just like,
yes.
I'm sorry coming in again, but
No,
I would
that's
like to respond to Murli because I think at one level the parents are surreal and one level they're real, right? So in a dream state, half awake and half asleep, uh, the protagonist gets the image of his father coming and kissing him. Now, whether it's real or not real, I don't know, right? So I think we need to think about that.
okay. Anyone else? Sridhar, Tarkeshwar. Madhurima.
Yeah, I don't have much new things to talk about the film. It is a really interesting film, and most of the points that I thought those are already discussed. But still, if I have to say one or two things, it is the representation of the relationship between the parents and Rudra, and the how this idea or notion of what is natural, how it is being unraveled through the characters of the parents. Because in many of the films we have watched where the main protagonist who is going through the problem, he or she would come to terms with, who he or she would try to unravel what is this idea of naturalness. But here, how the parents, the older generation, how they come to terms with it, and how they try to how they try to accept Rudra as he or she is, and where Rudra as a person becomes more important rather than his or her gender, how they go through the entire process, which is very interesting, but which is also, as probably Rajan sir has said, a bit surreal because we don't really find that characters in our society. But also keeping in mind that the context is this middle class, upper caste context, the highly privileged society. So there maybe that might become a reality. The other thing I find a bit problematic is the portrayal of the character of the psychologist. Even though it is portrayed as the imagination of Rudra, uh, this whole thing goes against the idea of the practice of becoming a psychologist, because there cannot be, for example, any physical touch or any personal conversation. The personal conversations would be there that the patient is supposed to share with the psychologist, but there should not be any personal conversation between the two, which happens here. But although it is set in 2012, which is when maybe the idea of psychologist was not that much common um, in the society of Kolkata, so maybe that is why it is. I find the character of psychologist a bit surreal. And other than that, what probably Nikhila ma'am already talked about, these notions of gender, sexuality, and sex, how this is unraveled throughout the film. And also the idea of the body, how the body is being experienced by the self and how it is being perceived by the others. I feel that is very well portrayed in the film. Other than that, I really enjoyed watching the film, and I really didn't watch any Rituparna Ghosh film earlier, so thank you, Sagnik, for introducing it to us, and thank you, TFO.
Okay. Anyone else?
Um, I'm actually
Yeah.
happy that Madhurima brought out this point about the character of the therapist. So, because it is portrayed as surreal, we see like when we don't know that it's a hallucination or imagination, we see the closeness between them. We see him doing non-conventional things which are not usually associated with counselors, with therapists, him kind of transgressing those boundaries. And from there only we get this sense that there is a deeper connect, there is some deeper meaning behind this. So that projection of his own self-conscious, Rudra's own self-conscious as his counselor, as someone that he can talk to, who can help him, who can support him through his journey, through this transition. That is why the character of Shubho becomes so important. And I think it's a very creative choice that the director took to make it so surreal. And that just adds to the beauty of it. And about the body, there are these very beautiful visuals of um, uh, sexual scenes and sexual intimacy, which are crafted in a way which Indian audiences might not be familiar with. And it's definitely uh, very much against the traditional Bengali ideals of how relationships should be between men and women. And here it's being two men, it's even more blasphemy. And that has been portrayed very beautifully by the director with the scenes between Partho and Rudro. That I wanted to point out. Those scenes, particularly with the music of Rabindranath Tagore playing in the background, directly taken from Chitrangada and added more components to it by the director. These songs provide it the support that it needs to create that emotion, that sense of intimacy with those lyrics going in the background. So it's captured very beautifully.
Yeah. So about this character of Shubho, the psychologist, I mean, there is a great deal of, self-awareness. So even as, let us say, this is a conjured up character, as you say, his subconscious, or, a conversation that he is having with another part of his self. Even as he is, even as it is that kind of a conversation, like right at the outset, there is this, sense that he doesn't want to go to a therapist, and the therapist kind of mocks him and says, so is this something you don't believe in, or something like that. And slowly, there is a way in which uh, it's also a part of learning to love oneself. So, and that is the point at which we realize that the therapist is another part of the same self, right? So it's as right at the outset, as trying to examine an inner turmoil from the outside, as it were. So the therapist is invented for that purpose, but slowly it is almost as if it is a part of coming to love oneself, and that is where Shubho and Rudro kind of merge. So I thought that is very beautifully done in the film. So this what makes it seem unethical, going against the professional ethics. I think the film is also playing with the limits of the relation between a patient and a counselor, by kind of deconstructing that relationship itself, by saying that, okay, this is not. So at some moment you start suspecting this may not be a therapist, or is he really there, or is there something else that is happening between the therapist and the patient? So it leads to all kinds of confusions, and ultimately that kind of gets resolved. So a distant eye watching, commenting on oneself and one's turmoil, to an eye that looks upon kindly at oneself and one's turmoil. I thought that is the journey that comes across through the counselor. Yeah, Vikas had raised his hand. Sorry, please go ahead. Is he there? Oh, yes, he's joining. Yeah, Vikas, please go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am, for allowing me to question. I had this similar question about the self-acceptance. I mean, in Tagore's work and in Rituparna's work, what is the difference that the director has seen in the self-acceptance part?
Okay, so this is a question. Sagnik, do you want to respond to it? He's asking about the self-acceptance between the two characters, one in this film and in Tagore's play.
Yes. So the self-acceptance part is sort of, as I had mentioned when I was explaining the juxtaposition of the play with the movie. The self acceptance is very different in Rituparno's portrayal, in the way that the self uh, acceptance only comes after the lover leaves. In Tagore's Chitrangada goes for this change to get the love of Arjun. And after she has undergone this transformation to become a woman, when she finally is with Arjun, she feels dissatisfied with this feeling of being something that she is not. And then she again goes back to her previous life, and Arjun accepts her just like that, and actually appreciates her more then. In Tagore's play, it also so happens that it said that she was not so beautiful before she transformed into a woman. She looked more manly and things. So initially, Arjun rejects her for these things, and then later accepts her when she is transformed into a woman, but recognizes that she still has those characteristics which make her Chitrangada. That is not something that can be transformed, and that is who she is. And that is what Chitrangada understands after being with Arjun. But here, Rudro, after Partho leaves, he goes into this journey of understanding his own self, his own identity, and having a conversation with himself for this self-realization. So that aspect is very beautifully shown in the movie.
Okay. Anyone else? Yagnashri, Rasha. No? Okay. Yeah. So if there are no more, yes, Tarkeshwar, go ahead.
No, if nobody else is there, I thought I will pitch in. No, in terms of the LGBT theme, there's nothing new in the film per se, because it has been already explored by the time this film had come. And even exploring folklore and myth, as you said, uh, they've also been done. So there are many films, plays, even in literature, people have done that. So in that sense, there is nothing new. But it, not to say that it is not a well-made film. It's a well-made film in that sense. But what I thought is quite interesting is, uh, though it is about, as you said, the issue is between trying to align the gender and the sex roles, uh, and then the role of the desire in doing it so. But when and how this desire occurs, and how, why it occurs, what are the factors that play a role in that, and when this occurs, and then this desire to align oneself with a particular sex or with a particular gender role uh, happens, what happens to the people who had accepted you as you were? Uh, so who you are and what you want to be, the conflict between the two, and how people around you look at this desire to transform yourself. That's where I think uh, it pitches in. That means it begins with a particular issue, but it is also trying to generalize it or philosophize it in a more universal way. So in that sense, it's particular, yes, and also universal. That's where I think the nuance of the film becomes important. Not so much for portraying of the LGBTQ issue or trying to relate it to an epic or a mythology or to a folklore. All those things have been done earlier. So I don't see we need to extol this film for those reasons. Uh, but as I'm saying all these things, not to take away from the fact that it is not a it's a well-made film. We need to agree with that. But as I was watching the movie, there were a lot of references that came to my mind. Uh, it's about your own identity. You think or you ascribe yourself an identity, are the people around you, whether you call it a society or a peer group or a family, whatever that, they ascribe certain identity to you. And there's a transformation within you which doesn't match with what they think as the identity of you, and the mismatch between the two, and what tensions it creates, and how this tension itself transforms both is quite interesting. It is not that the desire is constant. As I said, desire is the product of several contextual factors that play. Year two, she doesn't know whether she wants to completely get converted or not converted. What are the implications of it? She's also oscillating between the two, or he is also oscillating between the two, whether there should be a gender thing or not. So that is what is quite interesting. It is not assuming that these roles are constant, this identity is constant, or the desire is something that is within you. Every desire is, in that sense, is a product of the discourses that are acting on you, the circumstances, both material and non-discursive factors shape your desire. In that sense, this movie quite easily oscillates between the particular and the general. I thought that is quite interesting. Not the issue of LGBTQ or the tension within the family or the relationship between that are folklore and mythology, bringing in that. These are all, I think, already worked out issues, both on screen and as well as off screen. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, if there are no more comments, then first of all, thanks Sagnik for suggesting the film, which kind of sparked off this very, very interesting discussion tonight. Thank you everyone for joining in the discussion. We meet every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss a pre-decided film. If you want to keep in touch with what happens on TFO, please feel free to email us talkingfilmsonline@gmail.com, or you can also send your mobile numbers to us to be added to the WhatsApp group, or send either Geeta or me a friend request, and we'll add you to the group on Facebook. So do keep in touch, and do keep joining on Talking Films Online Saturday night 9 p.m. For yet another film discussion. Thank you. Have a good night. Happy weekend.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Good night.